Well, what do you know? You're ended up in McDonald's and you need to take a decision on what to order. You read my book, The Fit Businessman, and now you're thinking, what should I do? I should probably eat something, not to be asocial and just to fit in the group. Maybe you're there with your family, maybe you're there because of convenience reasons, but you gotta make a decision. Okay, what type of menu should I eat? What's doing the least harm to my diet? Or maybe, just maybe, you should just go all out and take everything that's on the menu that looks delicious and just try out the things you haven't eaten before. So, to make the decision a little bit easier, I've actually gone through to see, just for myself, if I go to the restaurant like McDonald's and order their, staple meal, a Big Mac meal, how can I modify it to suit my needs? Now, as a general rule of thumb, when eating fast food or going to these restaurants where it's a little bit questionable, just the content of the food, the general rule I try to keep is that the fat content should be a third of the protein content. So when you have the options of adding French fries or other supplementary stuff to your meal, in the end, if you can manage to have 1/3 of the fat content, and the fat content should be a third of the protein content. So if you have, let's say, 10 grams of fat, there should be 30 grams of protein. So reaching this is not that easy. So if we look at a Big Mac meal, you have a burger that contains 25 grams of protein, which is kind of nice, right? That's about kind of optimal, I would say, for a regular meal. You have 47 grams of carbs. That's pretty good as well. We need energy. But then we have the fat content, which goes up to 28 grams. And this is just in the burger. And this is, of course, more than the protein content. And this becomes an issue. So the question is, okay, if we order the burger, can we ask to modify it a bit? And in that case, is it, let's say, better to cut out the cheese? Is it better to ask it to have it without sauce? Is it better to say, okay, don't put a bun around it, just wrap it in some lettuce? What's the best alternative? Well, looking at the fat content, the bun is 3 grams of fat. So it's not that bad, right? But I guess there's not much good in the bun either. The beef patties, together, they have 12 grams of fat. And remember, there was 25 grams of protein. So the protein is from the beef patties. So there already the ratio is not that good. But, we could probably live with that. The sauce has 9 grams of fat, while the cheese has 4. So in this case, I would actually try to see if the burger is tasty enough to eat without the sauce. So the sauce is a big culprit here with 9 grams of fat. Of course, maybe that's what gives the taste of the burger. Maybe it's too dry otherwise. But in this case, the sauce would be a problem. And then, of course, if you have French fries, the French fries do not contain any protein. They had 2 grams of protein, actually. And 30 grams of fat, 30 grams of carbs, and 11 grams of fat. And this is for the small fries. So here we have sort of a inverted relationship with protein and fat. So the fat content is actually even more than 3 times higher than the protein content. So in this case, it might be good to ask the lady at the cashier to exchange those French fries to something else and to be more specific to anything else. Those French fries are not doing us any good. Now then we look at the drink. A small soda would have 39 grams of carbs, which would be just sugar. And there, of course, there are a lot of zero calorie alternatives. Someone might say, okay, well, if you're gonna eat, just eat it. But I mean, things add up, and why not make a conscious decision that if you go to a restaurant, you modify your burger a bit. You might say, okay, I won't take the French fries, or you actually share the French fries with someone else. And I think that's a lot of times as well when you go for a pizza. Really consider sharing a pizza with someone is actually not a bad strategy at all, because a lot of times when you order a pizza, I don't care what the size is, a lot of times you eat more than you really would need, right? So just sharing it with someone else might be a good way for you and for whoever is joining you to cut down the calorie intake, because I'm talking about the protein and fat ratio, but just the amount of calories is a huge factor. So you can always add more protein, later on in the day as well. But once you go over your sort of regular calorie level, you're gonna have some issues keeping your weight down. So sharing is caring. You can divide. Just a large size pizza in Domino's, that is already it's around 1,800 kilocalories. So that's about what is recommended for a daily intake for a woman. And so if you imagine that you eat a pizza and you should live on that the whole day, you probably, if you eat it in one sitting, which is quite tough actually, but if you manage to do that, I bet you still want to eat in the morning, in the evening anyway. So it easily adds up, especially if you go to these really tasty places. So my advice is actually to maybe think in advance, because if you're like me, you're gonna end up in these different places anyway. If you travel a lot, and there's always gonna be a McDonald's. There's gonna be one of these fast food chains that have sort of regular food that the calorie content of, or you can easily look it up. Then of course it's kind of convenient if you know what you're going to order, what you're going to leave out in advance, and not when you look at the nice advertisement and you see that they have a new flavor for the desserts, and that's when it gets tricky. So make your decision in advance, and when you eat, if the sauce is dripping, if cheese is falling on the plate, no need to pick that up. So I hope this helps out a bit. You can, if you don't have time to look up the calories of your favorite fast food restaurants, then just stay away from the sauce and the cheese as much as you can, and you'll be just fine. Share your plate with your friends or your close ones, and you're gonna eat in moderation. I'm Eric Snell, the author of the Fit Businessman book, and I'll see you at work.